The first ever edition of Beat the Closing Number, an MLB Futures and in-season show with myself, Eli Hershkovich, at Eli Hershkovich on Twitter. You can follow The Lines on Twitter, at The Lines US, and you can follow my co-host to my right virtually, I believe, unless Jack does things differently, at Mo Nuwwarah. His last name is spelled Nuwwarah, just as you see on the screen. So Mo has been digging into MLB Futures. We have some videos up already in the Lines YouTube channel talking about saves leader and some division futures as well. I think a hits leader too, a little bit of a long shot there that might still be out there in the MLB betting market. But I'm still wrapping up college basketball, and Mo bets a hell of a lot more futures and baseball in general than I do. So nobody better to have on and do this podcast with throughout the Major League Baseball season than my guy Mo. We're both lead writers over at thelines.com. Be sure to check out play.thelines.com for some Major League Baseball contests, as we're giving away Amazon gift cards pretty much on the weekly, if not the daily. So head over to play.thelines.com. Mo, for people that are watching this, if it is up on Wednesday night, it is opening day eve, if that makes any sense. Or if they're watching this on Thursday or Friday, it's opening day. So how excited are you for the season, man?
Super excited, especially for the Braves this year. Good time to be a Braves fan. Not in the sense of like necessarily like being happy that people are getting hurt left and right, obviously, but every injury is just breaking the Braves' way. So the path is clearing for the Braves to hopefully get back to the promised land after a little bit of a disappointing playoff campaign last year.
The nice thing about Mo, and he's a Braves fan, I'm a Sox fan, we don't align our fandom with our bets, that's for sure. I hate the White Sox for one. I love betting against the White Sox when I get the opportunity. I'm still a semi-White Sox fan. Mo, probably a little bit more on the other side when it comes to betting against the Braves, but he does definitely put his fandom aside when it comes to Major League Baseball. So Mo, it's time to dive into 5 MLB win totals, or actually 6. Maybe we'll throw in one extra. I know you got 6 here on the table to discuss. Let's start off with the Dodgers, a win total of 96.5. They lost in the divisional series to the Padres, who lost in the NLCS to the Phillies, who lost to the Astros. And we will ironically be talking about 2 of those teams that I just mentioned in your win totals bets. But starting with the Dodgers, again, a win total of 96.5. Where are you looking to go with LA?
Gonna be a theme throughout this show. Looking at the under here, and I am a fan of the under for a few different reasons. I'm just looking at we're looking at a line that's not too far from where the Dodgers have been the last couple of years. Like, they've been between 95 and 100, I think, pretty much every year except last year. I think the number was like 101.5 or something last year because they had like the most insane juggernaut team ever. But it's definitely not looking that way to me this year. Losing Trey Turner, obviously big. They just lost a lot of talent in general. Trey Turner, Tyler Anderson, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, a couple relievers, Andrew Heaney, although he was hurt a lot, but he did give them good contributions when he was in there, and didn't really spend a whole lot to replace them in complete like not Dodgers-y fashion. They kind of closed the wallet. Everyone was pretty much saying they're trying to reset. I think they're trying to reset their competitive balance tax or something like that. Like if you go under 1 year, you can start going over the next few years again and not have to pay the repeater penalties. So they skimped a little bit on this year's roster. I think you can see that they did. I mean, the top of the lineup is just as good as it was the last couple of years, obviously, since they have like pretty much almost all the same players. But when you look at like the bottom of the lineup and then the starting pitching, I don't think it's near as strong as it's been the last few years. Only pitchers I think you can really trust are Urias and Clayton Kershaw. But even then, Clayton Kershaw is going to get hurt at some point. Dustin May, electric stuff, but who knows how many innings he's going to be able to pitch. and then the back end of the rotation is pretty rough. Tony Gonsolin already hurt. Noah Syndergaard, who knows what he's got left. And then they just have prospects basically filling out after that. I mean, some of them are good prospects, but it's like you don't know what they're gonna bring. And then the bottom half of the order is not very inspiring. It's basically made up of like platoon guys and kind of quad A almost type of. I mean, Trace Thompson just didn't really have a career, MLB like career before last year, pretty much. I
Brother
mean,
Clay Thompson.
Yeah, he was bouncing around, and then he was hammering the baseball last year. I mean, good for him. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up. And overall, this team just is being priced pretty much like a juggernaut. 96 wins. I don't think they're as strong as they've been in the past years. So I do like the under on the Dodgers this year. All that being said, I would say when it comes to organizational competence, not too many franchises do it better than the Dodgers as far as just like taking these random guys like Trace Thompson and getting just great performance out of them. But man, it's just a lot of that is needed this year to get to this sort of level.
And just to Mo's point from the get-go, you think about the win total going back to last season, even though it's maybe 4 or 5 wins less, you're definitely paying a tax on this win total if you bet the over, just because it's the Dodgers, which you stated very well. So now over to the defending World Series champs, the Astros, sitting at a win total of 95.5. The under is juiced at FanDuel Sportsbook, so the overpriced at around -105, under at -115. Now, I have a long shot bet that I made when I was out in Vegas in mid-February. I know I said I haven't dabbled a ton in baseball futures just yet, but that number was truly an off-market bet. Jose Abreu at 150-1 to win AL MVP. Now, I don't love hearing this, that you're looking at the other side of things. You're potentially seeing a little bit of not regression, but just expectations maybe being lowered for Houston in 2023. Please expand.
Yeah, so Houston, I'm definitely a little stronger on the low end compared to, I think, general consensus and the market. At least with the Dodgers, like I can see a little more paths to where the market thinks they're going to go if they can get big performances out of some of these guys. But man, when I look at Houston, a lot of injuries already that I don't really think I don't think really the market reacted all that much to them. Jose Altuve going to be out for a couple months, I think. Michael Brantley on the IL. Lance McCullers. They've already had a lot of injuries, and I don't think this team could really afford a lot of injuries, especially when I'm looking at this pitching staff. Losing Justin Verlander, I mean, that's a massive blow. He's 6 WAR last year, I think, and just, I mean, I love Framber. He's great, but after him, it's like pretty much just a little bit above average.
Javier?
/ question marks. Yeah, Javier is like exactly the type of guy. Like, yeah, he's got a lot of talent, but he's been hammered by lefties in his career. And the projections are kind of lukewarm on him. I mean, I think he's a little better than that, but also like this guy has never came out and just like pitched a full season. You know, he's been bouncing between relieving and starting. I don't know how much volume and what kind of performance they can really expect out of him. So, especially with a lot of the division getting a lot stronger, man. I mean, Rangers are not going to be a bunch of free wins. Angels got a lot better as well. I think it's going to be a little bit more tough sledding for the Astros than the market thinks this year. I know they still have a lot of good players, but yeah, like just penciling in Hunter Brown into the rotation. I mean, we just have no idea what he's going to deliver, and I just don't see a lot of reliability outside of, again, the top of the order is obviously great, and it's going to be a great lineup. They're going to score a lot of runs. I just have questions about the pitching.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of hope you're wrong just because I have that Abreu bet. Even though it's a long shot, did not put a ton on it. I have a quick breakdown.
Maybe
over
they
at
just
thelines.com.
maybe they just lose some games 7-6. He can still put up some numbers.
That's true. Maybe we both come out winners, although a fairly long shot when it comes to my futures bet. But trickling down here on the win total board, and a team that is under 90 wins, and you still like to go under, just under 90 wins, the Phillies, the reigning NL champs. Philadelphia set at 88.5, and the under a little bit juiced at -113, not as much as your Dodgers or Astros wagers. So it's interesting because you gave Philadelphia credit for adding Trey Turner, of course, who played for the Dodgers last season. So what went into your thought process here for Philly going win total under?
Yeah, so with Philly, again, it's kind of the same thing that I saw with the Astros. A lot of injuries and stuff piling up, and the market not really moving. You're still looking at a really big number, close to 90 here, with Rhys Hoskins out for the year, Bryce Harper out for at least half the year, Ranger Suarez starting on the IL with the dreaded forearm tightness, and really just, again, a lot of questions about the back half of the lineup in particular. I mean, the top 3 spots is very strong. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. And after that, I mean, I really don't know if there's going to be an above average hitter in this lineup. DH is going to be Derek Hall. Castellanos, who knows what he's got left. I don't think we would be surprised if he bounced back, but last year was extremely concerning for him. And then, yeah, it's just not a lot of guys you can really have confidence in. So, I mean, their calling card is supposed to be their offense and their starting pitching. I'm not sure that the offense is going to be that great with these injuries having hit them, but the market really hasn't moved here. And I really think it probably should, especially because the depth of this roster is pretty poor. They don't even have like any prospects that are ready to come up. I mean, their best prospect is Andrew Painter, who was looking like absolute dynamite in the spring, but he's a pitcher and he's already broken, and who knows if he's even going to be able to play this year. So sad tale there. He was looking really exciting, but I think, I mean, you got to remember, like, this team won 87 games last year, and basically they got pretty much peak performance from Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Those guys were both like, Aaron Nola was, I believe he led the NL in Fangraphs WAR. So any sort of downturn, I mean, they should both be great, obviously, but like any sort of injuries or downturn from them, and this could get ugly in a hurry. Like, Phillies could be honestly a low 80s team that misses the playoffs.
Wow. Quite the take, and I'm not saying I disagree, but good stuff there. On to a team that's just a touch lower, a hair lower in terms of the win total, and you brought up the market adjusting to injuries over the course of spring training. One note that I want to get to when you wrap up your take on Cleveland, win total of 87.5 at Caesars minus 110 both ways. What do you expect from the Guardians after losing, or actually winning, their wild card series, best of 3 against Tampa Bay, and then falling short against the Yankees in 5 games? What do you expect from Cleveland after surprisingly winning the AL Central? As we saw, they were priced around 10-1 to win the division going back to last June and made quite the run down the stretch.
Yeah, very surprisingly, at least to me, since I lost some money on the Twins last year. And
we both did.
Yeah. Definitely was surprised how good Cleveland ended up being. That being said, a lot of just overperformance that I see as pretty unsustainable from that team. I mean, Andres Jimenez is probably the first name that I keep coming to. Over 6 WAR last year. I think if he gives them half that, it's going to be a decent season. He had 140 WRC plus. I mean, that's like, I don't think he'll come close to that this year. And guys like, Steven Kwan coming out of nowhere. The back half of the lineup, again, is really, really rough here. Some real black holes there. Oscar Gonzalez, Mike Zunino, Miles Straw. I don't even think these guys are going to approach league average batting. And more concerningly to me is what the rotation looks like now. Like, after Tristan McKenzie got hurt, and man, you just don't ever know when these pitchers are going to be able to like regain their velocity and stuff. It sounds like he's going to be out at least a couple months, but
2 to 8 weeks was the latest I saw.
He's the clear-cut second guy in a rotation that really dropped off after him. I don't think you could call any of these guys better than league average after Bieber, who is great. Same kind of situation in the bullpen. It's really top-heavy. Clace is great. After that, I mean,
Clase.
Apologies. Eli Morgan's pretty good, I guess. It's a good bullpen. They're being priced like a borderline elite team here, close to 90 wins. I don't really think any part of this team is elite. maybe the bullpen, and the defense is good, but average lineup, average starting pitching. Someday, Cal Quantrill is going to not outperform his peripherals by a full run, I guess. I'm assuming that will happen at some point, even though it's multiple years now that he keeps doing it. So, yeah, I don't really believe in this staff. I don't really believe in this lineup. And I just think this is a low to mid 80s team. And they might still win the division because I'm not like head over heels for any of these other teams. I like the Twins, but I don't think, I think it's going to be a little bit of a pillow fight in the AL Central again.
And a few things to note there. Number one, we're both high on the Twins. Like you, I have a Twins bet to win the AL Central, even though the number is a little bit shortened from what you got it at and what I got it at going back to, a month or so ago. I bet it when I edited your article pretty much. And we were both on the Twins last year. So you got to carry it over. You got to deal with all the pay that the Twinkies provide throughout the season. And again, that's coming from somebody who's a White Sox fan, and I still bet the Twins. So that just goes to show you how much I really care about my fandom when it comes to betting. I also have a write-up about a Cy Young candidate, potentially a long shot bet on a Twin starter over at thelines.com. And of course, you can check out thelines.com for all the latest odds on Mo's win totals bets and futures, whatever it may be. Head over to thelines.com to find the best of the number when it comes to MLB betting and game by game for that matter. Mo will start to reel off some game by game bets, and he'll have those released in our free Discord channel. So that is also, the link is available at thelines.com at your leisure. Couple other things I want to note there. You mentioned McKenzie being hurt. Now, I know the timetable is a little uncertain, like I mentioned, somewhere between, and this is a pretty big timeline, potentially, is 2 to 8 weeks for him to return. But he was bet down in the Cy Young market, Mo, and there are still multiple, and probably the majority of these legal sports books are hanging anywhere between 20, 25 to 1. I know one sportsbook adjusted back up to 40, but a lot of sports books are still sitting around 20, 25 to 1, somewhere in that ballpark. And then since you mispronounce, last thing here before we get over to your next team, since you mispronounce Clause's last name, I know you usually say something in lieu of somebody's first name and then you say the last name, but I think you have to call him Emmanuel something from here on out.
No, this guy's a star. I don't know why I forgot his name pronunciation.
I corrected you the last time too.
Watched a few Guardians. Man, they got me good a few times in my favor last year. Those Naylor walk-offs against the White Sox were big for me.
Yeah, those were. I think the Sox were up 5 or 6 runs in one game where Hendricks was in, and goodbye. Naylor just went berserk, to say the least. I was about to swear, but I'll keep it clean for the kiddos listening. Okay, so we have 2 more win totals to go through. Angels sitting at 81.5 on the win total. The under is juiced just a little bit, 5 cents, -115. Over at -105, priced at -105 at Caesars. What say you for Joe Maddon's, or actually not Joe Maddon's? Wow. You made the incorrect statement of saying Clause's last name incorrectly. So it is still spring training to an extent. The season hasn't started, so we both deserve a mulligan. What do you expect for these Angels this year for the second to last win total that we're going to discuss here on Beat the Closing Number?
I expect a better season. I think obviously everybody does, given that, it's going to be pretty hard to do worse than 73 wins. Last year, that's incredibly awful when you have 2 of the 5 best baseball players in the world. It might be the 2 of the 2 best, to be honest. But Mike.
How about that matchup in the WBC?
Mike Trout had 6 WAR in like 2/3 of a season last year. Yeah, that was a brutal one for me. I had US to ship that plus 275. That was painful. But when I look at this team, I'm just seeing more quality performance outside of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. I do need them to approach something like the superstardom they've had, basically health. I don't think anything else is going to stop them. But other than that, their supporting cast looks a lot stronger this year. We talked about this a little bit in the Angels video we did on the futures market. I like them to win the division when it was north of 10-1. That price is no longer out there. So I think if you want to be bullish on the Angels with me, the play is either over the win total or to make the playoffs. I think it was plus 185 when I checked yesterday. Those are both pretty good bets, I think. The projections like the Angels a lot. I like the Angels a lot. I think they have a very solid core of starting pitching. The bullpen is pretty terrible, but other than that, this team looks pretty good from top to bottom. And bullpen has a lot of variance. Bullpen is the easiest place to add in the middle of the season. I think it remains baffling that they let Iglesias go to the Braves for a song. I'm not going to complain as a Braves fan, but that is seriously hurting their bullpen right now. But yeah, this is pretty low if they stay reasonably healthy. I mean, we haven't even talked about Anthony Rendon. I mean, he hasn't given them a decent season since like 2019, I think. And if he comes close to being healthy this year, this is just going to be a really good lineup potentially, and a solid starting pitching staff. And I just think this is a team that should definitely, if they don't win the division, which obviously they're pretty big underdogs, they should be in contention, and they should be in contention to make the playoffs. This one is my only win total over because I think when I'm bullish on a lot of these teams, I'm just taking big plus prices to win divisions and stuff like that. But I do think the Angels actually have a pretty good floor. And their number is lower than some of these other teams I like. So I did play win total over on them.
And you mentioned Anthony Rendon. In 2019, he was on the Nats, and I had a Nationals future to win the pennant.
Me too.
I wish I had World Series, though. I think I bet Washington at around 20-1 right before the 4th of July. So that was fun when he was crushing along with the rest of that lineup. Juan Soto breakout in October. I still can't believe. Which Brewers outfielder was it that misplayed the ball in right field that led to the, what was it, like bases clearing double, triple for Soto? Do you remember in the wild card game or no?
No, that was a ways back. I had Nats preseason that year, so gave up hope when they were 19-31 or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the last. I had back-to-back World Series futures that came home those years. I had Boston the year before.
Nice. I was about to say Corey Hart, but I think he was well retired at that point from Milwaukee. So another win total that Mo has on the list here. I'll let you head over to thelines.com to read about it. Orioles under 78.5 at minus 112 over at Bet Rivers. But really quickly, Mo, before we wrap up, I know you have a piece on this coming out. Again, depending on when the video is released, when people are watching it, it might be the day of that people are checking this win totals preview out. And they could also read your article about the rules changes across Major League Baseball, because that's obviously something that bettors from a game-by-game standpoint, and also a little bit with futures, if you're looking at some bats when it comes to hits leader or AL MVP, NL MVP, whatever it may be, maybe a guy that could regress positively because of the rules changes. So what stick out to you, whether it's one or two things from what's ever changing across Major League Baseball in 2023?
Honestly, to me, the big one is going to be stolen bases, stolen base props, maybe stolen base futures if you want to get into that sort of market, although a lot of players should be affected kind of evenly, but it kind of depends more on what the team wants to do, I think, in that sense. The teams that are more aggressive are going to give their players a bigger boost, obviously, like teams like, I think Cleveland has ran a lot in recent years, the Royals, definitely. Yeah, I think the stolen base props are going to be fun to look at. I'm going to try to figure out which pitchers are struggling with the clock and struggling with the throwover rules and stuff like that. I think guys that have kind of a slower delivery, maybe guys like Noah Syndergaard, I mean, these guys are going to get ran on a lot, I think, because it's going to be easier for the runners to time their deliveries because they know that they're going to have to start it by a certain time. So that could be a fun one. And then another one I would say is, I'm not good at betting totals. Let me just get that out of the way. But I want to see what Toronto and Detroit's parks play like. I think we could see some boosts in offense, definitely in Detroit, and then Toronto's weird. They did all sorts of things, and their outfield is going to be looking a lot different than it has in the past. So I think figuring out which pitchers, too, for game lines are going to thrive in these sorts of environments could be big. Like last year, I said John Means was going to be a good one. I think he was playing well before he tore up his elbow because it was like a pretty ideal situation for him and the way Baltimore restructured their park.
Right, another Baltimore player to go down. If people didn't watch our Beat the Closing Line show, I was pretty high on the Ravens, and Nicole jinxed Lamar Jackson and the rest of that Ravens roster. So it doesn't just happen to our football bets. It also happens to the baseball team in Baltimore.
Sad for me. I'm a John Means fan. I like the crafty lefties.
Well, not this year because you have the under bet on the Orioles win total.
Yeah, but who knows if he's even going to be playing this year. We'll see.
That's true. So excellent Major League Baseball win totals conversation with my go-to guy when it comes to MLB handicapping. Follow Mo on Twitter at Mo Nuwwarah, just as it appears on our YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, be sure to subscribe to the Lines podcast on Apple or Spotify. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to give the video a thumbs up and ring that bell to get notifications whenever the Lines releases a new sports betting video on any market, including Major League Baseball, and probably one or two more March Madness videos still to come. My fun time of the year before I finally just take a breather, and then I'll get to Major League Baseball. But regardless, Mo is the guy when it comes to betting baseball at thelines.com. So be sure to give him a follow and check out all of his great work at thelines.com. Also, a reminder, head over to play.thelines.com if you want to win a Amazon gift card. Don't really know how much just yet, but on a at least week-by-week basis, we're giving away MLB betting prizes over at thelines.com. So definitely check that out. For Mo, for myself, Eli Hershkovich, remember to follow The Lines on Twitter at TheLinesUS. Thanks for watching and listening. So long, everybody. Enjoy opening day.